Happy Friday and welcome to the Freedom from the Press podcast. My name is Jason Robertson and I'm here with my partner in crime, also
Todd
wearing
Peterson.
plaid.
I cut you off, Jason, a little bit. Todd Peterson, folks, thanks for joining us today. If you've got any questions, comments, drop it in the box below. We will make sure to show yours on screen here, but lots of good news today. And Jason and I were talking behind the scenes. We've done a lot of doom and gloom lately. A lot of the news out there is definitely not positive, not feel good. But today, folks, some hope coming from college campuses around the country.
Oh my gosh. And I got to say, as these campus protests started, to me, it's like we're reaching the apex of what's been building over the last 20 years. What do you think, Todd?
You know, it seems like we have hit a turning point, and from an audience maybe least suspected as well, Jason. I know when I was in college, I don't know about your time in college, I was tuned out, apathetic. I was having a good time. I can't even say I was focused on studies, but just having fun, wasting how many years of my life and how many dollars in tuition that I paid for, by the way. I'm not getting any student loan reimbursement. But young kids today, whether because they're just inundated with politics is everywhere we look now. But a lot of young males specifically are dialed in and they've had it.
Yeah, and I got to say, I think to appreciate the moment, we got to do a little bit of flashback. And, you know, I was a young man growing up and I always had conservative values. I sum it up to people where I always thought you teach people to fish instead of giving them a fish. I thought government was corrupt, and if we became reliant on government, that was bad. I thought more government was bad. I thought giving people free stuff was bad. And I grew up dirt poor. And that's what we learned. That's what my family values were. We relied on community and church to get us through it. It wasn't about, you know, trying to, hey, who owes me something or what we get for free. It's like, God put me in America. I'm going to have a great opportunity to do and be whatever I want to be when I grow up. And at the time, you took the two political parties. You had the Republican Party, which I always looked at like Mitt Romney and John McCain were the embodiment of them, or maybe working a little Bush Senior, where they were the party of the military, which I love the military, but these leaders just wanted to go blow up other countries. And then you have Mitt Romneys of the world who represented the corporate sellout, rich people who, like, it's the country club Republicans. So you're kind of stuck and you're like, okay, I really want these values, but this political party is just awful. The Democrat Party just want to give people free stuff, but at least they seemed less corrupt back in the day, Todd. What do you think?
You know, I'm a little bit younger here. I mean, I grew up on Rush Limbaugh. I remember being like 9 years old listening to him on the radio here. So that's been my entire upbringing here. Conservative values, but like you said, Jason, it was two big government parties. They just embodied big government in their own way. So it was really the lesser of two evils. I never had a chance to vote for, I don't know, I would have voted Republican in the 90s against Bill Clinton. But you look back in hindsight, you're like, those Democrats weren't the worst that we've ever seen. Barack Obama really hit the gas pedal, though, and ever since then, it's been a complete disaster. The Democrats have sold out. I don't know why any middle class or regular American feels anything towards them, because if you are, especially white, but any middle class, low income, it's not even that they hate you. They don't even think about you. You are not represented in any of their policy decisions. But we've still got, Jason, we're not going to even talk about this on the show today, but Republicans passing some recent legislation just goes to show how out of touch they are, too. We're stuck between a rock and a hard place if we just want small government to be left alone by people in D.C. to take care of ourselves and take care of our families and neighbors.
Yeah, and it's funny. I remember when Barack was first up, I thought, okay, I don't like his policies necessarily, but how cool would it be if we elected a black guy? You know, like maybe we could put race behind us as a nation. Maybe we could, and such a naive thought, because it turns out Barack Obama was a communist who was intent on destroying the country. And he took these nice, kind-hearted people on the Democrat Party and turned them into America-hating, communist, big government, racist, loving folks. And it was the most insane shift ever. And I remember going through Barack 1 and Barack 2 and like, okay, racism's worse than ever. They, you know, all this DEI stuff, all women's rights went from let's give women a chance to suddenly being a white man was bad. And I mean, think of that, Todd. This may be an unpopular opinion, but Christian white men built the nation. Now we had help. We had Christian white women. There were African Americans, there were other people, but this was a country that was established by strong men and the women that loved and supported them. And suddenly in the last 10, 15 years, it became unpopular to say America needs strong men. America needs men who are going to do man stuff, build things and create things and keep us safe. And suddenly you got all these soy boys who are running the country, and all they wanted to do is complain about stuff and ask for free stuff. And where's my student loan forgiveness? And when's the government going to fix this for me? And when's the government going to forget that for me? Todd, I don't know about you. It just made me sick these past 10 or 15 years.
I know it's a little too early for the tinfoil hat in the show. We're only 7 minutes in right now, but you have to take a look around and say, are they emasculating men on purpose? Because a society has to have strong men. You need strong fathers in the household to raise kids. But at a societal level, you need strong men to make good, moral, righteous decisions if they are governing the rest of us. And then, Jason, I just want to pop over. Split Rock Coffee, active in the chat this morning. Thanks for joining us, Paul. Amen, Todd. Right on, Junior. JR.
Hey, you can go to splitrockcoffee.com. They have some of the best coffee you'll ever drink. Disabled, veteran owned, give back to the community. Todd, is there a way they can get a discount?
Absolutely. Go to splitrockcoffee.com and use promo code TODD10 for instant savings. And if you are tired of going to the grocery store, sign up. I'm losing my voice live on air, Jason. Sign up for their subscription model. You can get coffee freshly brewed, freshly ground right to your door every week, every month, however you set up your subscription. I'm drinking some right now. And Jason, I don't know what kind of mug you're using today.
Oh my gosh.
The AmericanTribuneStore.com, folks. We're just going to do all of our plugs right away, apparently.
There you go.
These nifty little mugs and lots of other Trump merch as well.
So anyways, being a white man's been awful. You have to be a transgender. You got to be purple-haired single cat ladies, nuclear families, bad. And then all of a sudden, this Israel stuff happens. And October 7th, awful. And words can't express how terrible it's been. And everything that's happened after then has been a complete disaster. I mean, you've got the pro-Hamas caucus, which we did an episode about. Hamas is not good people, folks. I mean, they espouse things that we have a difficult time talking about on some of these social media platforms.
But if you love freedom and you like the opportunity for all individuals to thrive, it seems to be in a little bit of conflict, we'll see.
And this just in, if you're LGBTQIA and you have that Go Hamas like sign, you might want to spend a little bit of time on the Google. I'm just saying.
Appreciate living in America.
Right. Yeah, they don't necessarily appreciate those lifestyles.
The tolerance that they are so fond of is not well received in other parts of the world.
Right. And back to America. America has the greatest founding documents in the history of the nation. The Constitution, the Bill of Rights. It establishes the fact that these laws were given to us by God, yes, by God, and government can infringe upon them. And as all of a sudden, once Obama gets in and this Marxist twist happens, suddenly big government's good. Suddenly being a strong white man or having a nuclear family's bad. Women shouldn't want to be home and be moms. They really need to go be power woman out there being CEO, and the kids will be fine. Just let the government institutions raise them. And just awful things have happened. And now we see on these campus protests, if you follow us on social media, on Twitter at JRob from MM and at Todd, what's yours again?
Tam Trib is the easiest. That's the phonetic way.
Yeah, Todd Peterson on there. Like we've been sharing videos from the campus, and we're gonna go through some videos today. But I think the first one we want to start about is we want to talk about this Democrat pitch to these soy boys and to the future, because to me it really encapsulates how lost we've been on some of this stuff.
Yeah, let's take a look. We're gonna get all set up for you, folks.
Giddy up.
My generation has never lived in a world without mass shootings. or a world that's not getting hotter and hotter by the second.
This is not the reality we chose for ourselves.
Or the future that we want for the next generation.
But the truth is, we're the ones who will have to deal with a broken system we didn't create.
Where our reproductive freedoms are under attack.
And we struggled.
And we struggle to afford housing, healthcare,
and a quality education.
And if we're going to stand a chance at solving these issues,
then we've got to remove the Republicans
who
are standing in the way.
And replace.
All right, Jason, I know prior to the show, we said we have to stop this video quite frequently, folks, because we need to debunk all this right now. My first takeaway listening to this, Jason, they talk about having to remove Republicans from office because they want a better education. They want more affordable housing, just to name a couple of policies they mentioned. Folks, this just in, Democrats are the big government party right now. They are the most corrupt party of the two, even though that's probably a close race. Printing money, making housing unaffordable is a direct result of big government Democrat policies. If you want cheap housing, you need to let the free market dictate that, not just run the money printer. And if you want a good education, the same thing applies. You have to get big government out of the school system. That is the complete opposite of what these young fools are advocating for.
Yeah, I was going to say, my brain already hurts, Todd. We should probably play a little more here.
Them with
Democrats
who will fight
for our future.
So this summer,
We're not taking no for an answer.
We're going on a tour.
We're going on a tour across the country.
stopping in Republican-held districts
To flip
Them blue. Flipping these seats blue
is key to fixing our future and yours too.
Simply put,
Republicans don't care
about our voices
or our lives.
And as we speak,
They're coming for each and every one of our freedoms.
and blocking.
all progress.
But when we win, we can finally turn ideas into action.
And movements into policy.
But it won't be easy.
won't be easy,
It's going to take every single one of us.
no matter your generation.
Yes, that includes you.
You.
That includes you. So please visit tourtosavedemocracy.com to learn how you can get involved and help us build a movement.
Okay, we're going to we're going to go through some of this. Why does America have rights and freedoms? Because we have the Second Amendment. Why do we not get invaded by foreign countries? Why, to a certain degree, does our government stay constrained? Because we have the Second Amendment. The Second Amendment was designed to protect us from an overreaching, corrupt government. And yeah, so no, all those freedoms, democracy, all that stuff these idiots are talking about is a product of us having a Second Amendment. What do you think, Todd?
Jason, it's so disingenuous. When you talk about gun crime in America, it is not, for the most part, and overwhelmingly not law-abiding gun owners. Gun crime occurs in overwhelmingly inner cities with illegal guns or people that should not have guns based on prior convictions committing these acts of these atrocities. It's so disingenuous because you and me owning guns, we are not out there hurting people. It is the criminal elements who do not care what laws are written on the books. They will go out and do the same thing. If these people actually cared about other human beings and they wanted people in the inner cities protected, they would be staunch 2A advocates so that every homeowner in the inner city could defend themselves from these criminal elements, and they would advocate for harsher prison sentences to lock up the bad guys. It is the complete opposite. Again, these guys are wrong about everything. Democrats are wrong about absolutely every policy. I can't think of a bigger one than this.
Yeah. So Second Amendment, these young Democrats, nobody taught them civics. Nobody taught them how any of this stuff worked. The climate agenda, we have to be careful what we say about, because we're on some platforms like Facebook and YouTube, and they don't like talking about the climate agenda. All I'm going to say is go back and watch our episode from a couple weeks ago when we broke out the video from, I believe it was like 1978, that talked about global cooling. And then 5 years later, in like 1982, it talked about global warming and how the world had 20 years left before Florida was going to be flooded. Now it's 48 years later. Folks, if you want to live in this dystopian world where you're going to wake up and suddenly California's underwater, I don't even know what to tell you. Like AOC 9 years ago and Greta Thunberg said, we have 12 years left to live. And it's the most ridiculous thing ever, Todd.
And I can't help but wonder, how much gas is that bus going to use as it drives across the country? I don't know if they're aware of this, but in the pandemic, there was this thing called Zoom that took off. If they really wanted to be conscious about their carbon footprint, which, side note, Jason, was an invention of the oil industry to pass blame from them onto you and create this dialogue in the first place. In 2005, I think it was BP. We can fact check ourselves on that one. If they really wanted to take care of the climate, they would host all of these things on Zoom. People wouldn't have to drive to go to the protests in those cities. Their bus wouldn't have to go around the country. But once again, they will say something that they do not believe just to agitate you and threaten you and fearmonger you.
And then there's solutions. Let's have the government fund electric vehicles. So you and I as citizens get to pay private companies to build electric vehicles, which, by the way, do the Google and look up rare earth mines and see what kind of ecological disaster that is. And then you're going to build a car that weighs 3 times what a regular car does. So it slowly destroys your roads. There's nobody to work on these cars. And oh, by the way, the cars are fueled by coal. That's where electricity comes from. It's not like electricity magically drops out of the sky. And oh, we want solar panels. Okay, great. Solar panels last like 10, 15, 20 years. They are provided by China. And then after they serve their life expectancy, they are virtually impossible to get rid of.
And apparently, even in the Northeast, which is beyond blue and beyond saving, they even shut down. I don't know if it was New York or Massachusetts. They're going to have a wind farm out in the ocean. And even those communists took it down because it was killing too many fish, too many whales, too many birds. Here, have a wind farm and just knock out every bald eagle in the countryside. But good job saving the environment.
Well, yeah, and these carbon crazies, like, if that's what you want to do, go get a piece of property off the grid, live sustainably. You know what I mean?
No
like,
one's
don't
stopping
use electricity. Oh, and I gotta say, the chat box is fire. Lisa, they want everything for free. We're gonna get to that in just a second. Vernon says mentally ill people. Fact check. True. These kids do not understand. They only believe what they hear and do not look for the truth. And they don't even apply common sense, Joy. It's the most ridiculous thing ever. So the climate stuff's crazy. The gun stuff's crazy. And then you get to the bad healthcare. Who runs healthcare? Democrats.
Government.
Then you get to bad education. Who runs the education? For
Government.
Decades.
And the worst schools are in the Democrat-run cities. This is not a coincidence.
Right. And then every time they do something stupid like student loan forgiveness, do they go after the college that overcharged you for a crappy education? No, the government pays off the college, transfers that debt to every American citizen, and never holds a university accountable for being awful.
Jason, I'm going to hop down to this because it's related. Josephine says, where are the parents of these young people? Pause right there. This kind of summarizes and answers every other comment here. These lefties are abdicating the responsibility as individuals, as responsible human beings. It is always going to fall back on the family. Big government does not want you to have a stable family, so they've destabilized it. They've pushed your kids into the school system. I think at the age of 3 in the inner cities, you can do the Head Start program. Essentially, as a parent, you don't have to see your kid most of the day, every day.
Right.
If the parents were involved, if we advocated for single family income earners, mom stayed at home, or in my case, I'm at home a lot with the kids. Kids need their parents there. They're not going to learn from other adults. And if they learn from government teachers who have all been brainwashed through this college education program, and then they get even further brainwashed when they go to their district trainings, it's not going to end well. And to answer some of the questions here, this is what you get. These are the kinds of kids that society is producing, and government's producing them on purpose.
Well, and that's what, I mean, if you look at conservatism as a basis, it's build your family unit, it's have personal responsibility, and it's I want an opportunity to build something for myself. And if you look at the liberal thing, there's 2 things liberals do. One thing is they think it's not your personal responsibility. You shouldn't be personally held responsible. Why do they want abortion? Like in the video, they talk about, oh, we have our rights. Yeah, you know what? If you make a baby, you should be responsible for taking care of that baby. And don't say, if you really are pro-life, you should want the government to pay for it. No, if you are going to produce a baby, you are going to be responsible for that baby, and you should take care of that baby. This should not be controversial. And I'm not saying that there aren't charities or people are struggling. I mean, we've got a grandbaby on the way. My wife and I are financially assisting the kids. We've gone up. I brought Mike, one of our business partners, up. We help paint the house. That's what you do with your family. You go help them do that. Our kids should never have to turn to the government and say, okay, we've got this baby on the way. I need food. If they need food, they should be asking me, and they should be asking my wife and our extended family, like if they truly need support. But these Democrats think that it has to be only government that can help. It's infuriating.
And one last comment on that. It is super scary how they have stripped away the basic human instinct, especially the maternal instinct, to say that I am comfortable with someone else raising my kids. Jason, you know that I'm a father of 2 young girls. I cannot for a millisecond imagine feeling comfortable letting someone else raise my kids. I take them out of daycare early on days that I'm done with work. We spend all weekend with them. It is beyond fathomable to me to feel okay saying, I'm going to ship my kid off to the public school system, or I'm going to ship my kid off to this Head Start program at 3. The idea that people are fine and they want breaks from their kids too, which is another sad thing. My kid's bad, so I need a break from him, but then I don't spend time with him. So you have a vicious cycle of these behaviors getting worse, the lack of control in the household getting worse. The idea of me not wanting to spend time with my kids, a lot of people don't have that basic instinct anymore. It's just been taught out of them.
It's insane. Yeah, you hear people are like, and don't get me wrong, kids are a ton of work. Todd's got 2 young kids.
I'm always tired.
I was going to say, I remember those years. Like, the wife and I are empty nesters now. It's pretty cool, I'll be honest. But living through those difficult years, 1000% worth it. And that's where I think we need to understand, and back to Josephine's point, where are the parents? That's kind of the problem. You have parents that don't believe in personal responsibility. You have parents that don't believe in teaching their kids. You don't have parents that believe they should be part of this. They should be helping those kids. And like I say, the answer to their problems is not going to be more government, but these poor Democrats think that. So these campuses right now are full of these college students, and it started in Columbia. It spread to, I've heard, as high as 50 different campuses. I know University of Minnesota has one. They've created these pro-Hamas campuses. They have tents, so it's probably funded by George Soros. A couple articles have come out tracing the money back to organizations he runs. And they started out kind of with we need to stop killing Palestinian citizens, because what's happening over there is that Hamas is embedding their military in churches, hospitals, mosques, that kind of thing. So when Israel goes to blow up the army combatants, you're going to have civilian casualties. And they take those pictures, they share them, and nobody wants civilians to die. Like, I think we should all be able to agree on that. And then you take this anti-war movement, and then all of a sudden it becomes a free Palestine movement.
Can I just say too, Jason, Donald Trump was the most pro-peace president, certainly in my lifetime. I don't know how far back you want to take a look at that. All these goons that just want peace in the Middle East definitely did not vote for Donald Trump, again, because they are wrong about everything. If they truly cared about peace in the Middle East and peace for the people they at least alleged to care about, they would be voting fervently for Donald Trump and getting the message out, because clearly Joe Biden and Democrats and anyone in the establishment, they're just going to fund the MIC. We've had clips, we've done Republican, Democrat senators, House members, all talking about feeding the beast. Donald Trump was the one man to stop that. I don't recall any big conflicts during his presidency, Jason.
No. And it's interesting in historical sense. I remember like them saying, if Donald Trump gets reelected, we're going to be in World War III. We're going to have this or that. Funny, we got World War III brewing right now between Taiwan, Ukraine, Israel, axis of evils being built. Yeah, none of that happened under Trump. And
I know we have, Jason, I know we have other clips here, but I did have one related to this as we talked about climate here. I think this is a perfect encapsulation of what people say they believe and then actually what their actions look like, if you don't mind me playing that one.
go for it.
Taking a look around the encampment after police have gone through here and forced the pro-Palestinian demonstrators out. CHP tells me 100 people were taken into custody during this operation.
All right, I'm just going to pause it there. This was more for the visuals than the narration. These are the folks that are worried about the climate. They care about the environment.
Right.
Let that sink in.
It is utterly insane. And now in the last couple days, these protests, two things have started happening other than they're slobs and they're awful people. Professional agitators have been infecting these organizations. They've started taking over buildings. But two things that they've been saying. One thing, they started chanting death to America and from the river to the sea. Todd, what does from the river to the sea mean?
If my geography is correct, I think Israel's in the way. I think something would have to happen to Israel in order for that river to the sea come true.
You have the Jordan Sea or the Jordan River, the Mediterranean Sea, and in between is Israel. And Palestine wants Palestine to own from the river to the sea. Pretty awful.
Okay, can I just say this, Jason? It shouldn't have to be said. I hope it's obvious enough. When Israel exists as a state, that's not okay. It's not about them sharing the space. It's not about anything else. It is simply about power and total control for every communist movement. They will not have any tolerance for the Jewish people. If they get their wish and Israel ceases to exist, they will not extend any of the niceties that Israel... I mean, if you've been to Israel, you can see people coexisting just fine over there. It's just the lunatics in Hamas that they have a problem with. It will never be reversed. Just like when they tell us all white people are bad and you've created this horrible oppressive system for black folk. Make no mistake, if black people got in charge of the United States, and we will be an ethnic minority in the next couple decades, do you think they're going to be kind to white people remaining in America when they are in the minority? Are they going to practice what they are preaching right now, saying we just want equality and equity and whatever that is?
No, and that's what's interesting. That's kind of the problem with liberals. Even all these people protesting. Let's say you said, okay, what's your list of demands? And they said, we want these 10 things, which a couple of colleges have done. Okay, great. We'll give you those 10 things. Will you shut up and go home now? They wouldn't shut up and go home. They would ask for the next set of 10 things. Mm-hmm. I remember when I had a young kid, one of Cody's favorite books was If You Give a Mouse a Cookie. And basically it's if you give a mouse a cookie, it's going to ask for a cup of milk. And if you give it a cup of milk, it's going to ask for a napkin. And it just keeps going and going and going. That's the liberal kids that we have, that we've raised. And I got to say, Todd, so you get death to America from the river to the sea. Then something else pivotal happened on these protests. They started taking down American flags on campus, and they started flying Palestinian flags. What did you think about that?
So there is the material look. You say, it's just a flag, but it's the symbolism, Jason. Taking down that flag is just exactly what they said, death to America. They want to destroy and tear down every last institution that has made this country great. The flag symbolizes all of that. And so when they remove the flag, they are telling you to F off, basically. And we got to watch our language on these big tech platforms, too. They do not care about America at all. They want to remake it in their own communist image. And Jason, we had quite the show this week of defiance.
Yeah. Do we want to show that, or do we want to get to where the tide turns, Todd?
Let's get to where the tide turns.
Yeah, we're about halfway through. Hopefully everybody's as mad as we are, and they're sick of these communist Marxists that are destroying our country, our political leaders doing nothing about it. Democrats don't care. This is what they want. They want turmoil and destruction. Republicans are cowards. And Todd, what's the first video we should start with?
All right, do you want to start with the big one?
Yeah, let's start.
I think that kicked off. And folks, this is why we said that there is hope for this nation after all. There are, I don't know how many young people out there, especially young white males, and that's who we've got video clips of here, their entire life, basically, certainly since they were in government schools, because they would have been young enough after Obama took over, they have been told their entire life by society that they are useless, worthless at best, and actually evil at worst. And these people are waking up, they are growing up and maturing, and they're looking around and saying, this is not right. Something's got to change. So let's take a look here as they defend the American flag on UNC's Chapel Hill.
Yeah, so UNC, to put this in perspective, the police came in, took down the Palestinian flag, and put up the American flag. So police have already been in to fix this, and then they went to take the flag down again, Todd.
Not on their watch.
Not on their watch.
Kind of gives me chills, Jason.
I gotta say, you look at that group, and it's not all white guys. You know, there's a couple diverse guys in there. Those are young, healthy, fit men that have had enough. And you look at that crowd of mutants around there wearing their COVID masks because they're afraid to be identified and looking around saying, you know, they got purple hair. They don't know what gender they are. They hate America. And there you have a group of young men who love America, who love this country, who have said, we've had enough. And they're protecting the flag.
Yeah, and I think that's a great point. They love the country. Make no mistake, this is not about defending the United States government. There's an Israeli flag there as part of that. This is not about defending the Israeli government. This is about defending values and ideas of this country. We love the country. We hate the government. But Jason, just a small group of men, this little act of courage has now spread across the country because this is how it has to start. It's always going to take one act of courage to allow others basically to look around and say, it's okay to do this now. Now I'm going to take a stand too.
Right. And these guys are standing up for the values of America. I mean, look at that. A group of young, fit people doing things. And it's funny because they started unmasking some of these people. And, you know, there's all these videos. You see any of these mugshots, these are physically malformed, just awful people who just look unhealthy. And it's just insane. And these men, so these guys were great. They stood up for the flag. They held off the crowd. Things were getting thrown at them. And then they threw up a GoFundMe to say, hey, we want to take this frat house who stood for the American flag. We want to throw a rager college party. And all of a sudden, I think I saw this morning, it's up over $500,000. And like 2 or 3 major artists have said, we're going to come to your rager on your college campus.
Yeah, and I would love to see Donald Trump show up there too.
Right. Oh my God, that would be excellent. Todd, where else are we showing courage?
Let's go around college campuses now. This one's going to be from Ole Miss. I think this is a shorter one. All right, again, you can see the frat guys, it looks like, coming out and they're saying, we love this country. You're not going to do this on our campus. And Jason, I don't think it's an accident that these are a lot of southern states that are doing this. There's something about just the South that I love.
Right. And I got to say, why we wanted to show this clip is how powerful it is. And I'll say, even as a Trump supporter, even as a grown-up, it takes courage to go out and say, wear your Trump hat. I mean, I got one of my Trump shirts on today. If you go out, like, people are going to judge you. They're going to call you racist, sexist, homophobic, a dictator, all that. Here's hundreds of men on a college campus chanting, we love Trump, we love Trump. Can you imagine that 2 years ago, Todd?
I was just going to say, this couldn't have happened any other time except I think this year, because it has gotten so bad. Like we said earlier, we've just reached the tipping point. It was during the Trump administration that if you voted for Trump, a lot of people were quiet about it. They wouldn't react. They wouldn't talk in conversations. But now It's gotten so bad out there. Unabashedly, people are showing up and saying, I love this country, and so I will vote for Donald Trump because there is no other option.
And like I say, 2020, even if you take out some of the COVID stuff, for large groups of young people to stand up chanting they love Trump, it's remarkable. And I got to say, too, the chat boxes are going nuts today. Robert, these protests modeled after the Vietnam anti-war protests. Surprise, Hanoi Jane isn't out there on the protester sides. George Soros money at work. Yeah, what's interesting, too, is these same people that are anti-war want us to keep sending money to Ukraine to blow up Ukraine.
I was just going to make that comment, Jason. Thanks for saying
right.
that.
And I think Shannon has the line of the day. Send all the protesters to Palestine. They can fly their flag there. 100% shouldn't be a thing. And then Faley, I always pronounce your name wrong.
But thanks for joining us again. I know you're here every week. We got to learn how to say your name at some point.
Right. And you tell me every week, and I forget. I'm terrible with names. People don't know this about me, Todd, but I'm awful remembering names. And then if I ever remember it wrong, it's wrong forever, and I can't reprogram. So, like,
Gene? Can we call you Gene?
Can we call you Gene? Yeah, I can. 100%.
Oh, sounds like Sally. Fally.
There you go. Fally. But anyways, they started showing their faces arresting him in Cali. Yeah, it's insane. They started demasking these protesters. And now notice on the pro-Trump side or the guy standing for the American flag, not one of them is hiding their face.
What does that tell you?
What does that tell you? Todd, let's see some more good videos.
Oh, boy. We got a bunch.
I'm going to say, look at those coveralls. Look at those.
We'll pause it there. It's a lot of screaming. Jason, one thing I love about this is the mockery and the ridicule. They are shouting down this woman. We have to mock and ridicule bad ideas. And the thing is, I bet that lady that was on the other side, it looks like she was all alone. So I guess good for her. She was brave in her beliefs. But if she actually was willing to sit down and talk with these guys or talk to us even, or anybody and present ideas like, what is it that you value? I think the thing is, when these people are doing that, I'll just use this lady here in the example. She's just been told that. She's been programmed, basically. I think if you sat down every lunatic, I don't know if you can get through with them at this point anymore because they might be too far gone. But at the end of the day, I would guess that most people resonate with our ideas. Get government out, leave us alone. But apparently that's too much to ask.
And I'm going to say, just looking at this graphic, this encapsulates it. And I'm not going to get into the race stuff. If you watch this show, I don't really care if you're black, blue, whatever. Fun fact about me, Native American is my greatest percentage. So I love when people call you a racist because I look like a white guy. But anyway, so you have this out of shape, slovenly liberal. And actually in one of the videos, it shows liberals behind. They're all these deformed mutants. And then on the other side, you have pure-blooded, red, Americans. Fit, healthy, athletic. You know, you got some guys, you got some girls. But, this is strong male energy coming across, Todd. The strong white man has had enough. We don't need soy boys. We don't need things. These guys aren't going to be the clowns that are going to say, I need you to pay for my student loans. These are the hardworking, fit, normal people that are going to save this country.
And if you can't even take care of yourself, and again, we're not trying to shame this woman for how she looks, but just commenting, if you can't take care of yourself, why should I trust you to take care of me vis-a-vis government actions? All these, as you call them, mutants, I can certainly adopt that idea. All these mutants have abdicated personal responsibility via diet, exercise, general welfare of how their brain functions at this point. If they can't take care of themselves, they have no business trying to tell me how to run my life.
And it's funny because even when you talk about the student loan forgiveness, they say, oh, how great is it going to be for the economy if we forgive the student loans? So then you talk to them and you say, okay, first of all, What's going to stop this from happening again? Are you going to go after the schools? Well, no, we're not going to go after schools. Okay, so you're going to transfer that debt onto American taxpayers. Like, that can't be good. Like, it's going to raise people's taxes. We're going to be paying this off for generations. Yeah. And then who do you give money to? You give money to the people that are so god dang stupid they can't pay off their student loans. So why on earth do you think giving people that are not bright enough to pay off their student loans more money is going to stimulate the economy? And I see these people. There was this one person that, I've been paying on my student loan for 30 years. This is going to be such a big help to me and such a boon to the economy. It's like, I'm sorry. Like, I don't know what kind of struggles you went through, but if you ain't figured out a way to pay off your student loan in 30 years, me giving you more money is the dumbest thing I've ever heard.
Now, are they going to start investing in real estate or the stock market and save for retirement? Or are they just going to blow more money at Starbucks, take a fancy trip that provides, I love traveling here, but no real value to their bottom line? They will have learned no lessons in doing this. And if anything, they're going to be enabled and emboldened to go out and be even more reckless with their spending. Because again, zero accountability is it's the game that we play now.
Yeah. And but look at all those strong, young, fit people that are standing up. Todd, we got more videos, don't we?
Yes. We've barely done videos. We've been talking a lot here.
I was going to say, we got a bunch of videos we're going to fly through, folks.
All right, I like this one too. I think we didn't do this one.
That just makes me want to cry.
You know what you said earlier? When would this have happened? Even just a couple years ago? Pride in America is back in fashion. You know what? I think there was a lot of people down years ago, decades ago, but now for once we are finally able to be proud for our country and say it unapologetically. Again, hope for this nation after all, because all of these young men are going to go out into the real world, the workforce, maybe politics, and provide some real opportunity for change.
And I want to say, like, this video, so spontaneously on college campus, they break out singing the Star Spangled Banner. And look at all these American hating people behind the thing. And I'm calling them mutants, and it's intended to be insulting. Here are these fat slobs that hate America. Every one of these people's wearing masks, hiding their identity. And on the other side, you have these pure-blooded Americans. You got women, you got men. Once again, strong men leading the way, which is where strong men belong. They belong out there taking the heat, singing the Star Spangled Banner. Todd, this was one of the videos that inspired the title, There's Hope for America, This Nation After All.
Absolutely. And Jason, I can't just help but wonder, what is it that I know we have a lot of paid agitators out there. I'm speaking directly about these students that are joining these protests on the other side. Stop, ceasefire now, end the open air prison, whatever they're talking about. What is it they hope to accomplish with this? And then, what is it they hope to accomplish with the rest of their lives? I see people with zero meaning, zero purpose. They have nothing better to do than pretend to go along with the latest narrative. But I wonder, after this all dies down, once the election passes, what is it that they will do, contribute, offer to any of us? I just see so many wasted lives here.
Yeah, and it's really unfortunate. They just want somebody to take care of them. And John hits a nail on the head. Tuning in from Pittsburgh, I'm guessing. John Faust, get a job. And I got to say, that's what.
Yeah, there it is, Fallon. I was asking that rhetorically, as I have told I do quite a bit here.
Right. Future welfare recipients.
That's all it is. Future, benefactors of the state right there. That's all they want. That's all they aspire to.
You're right. One side singing the national anthem, proud. They're going to school to make something of themselves and do something. The other side is this apologist, lacks no personal respect or personal accountability. Let's let Big Daddy government help me out. Oh, But these college kids, Todd, they're inspiring me.
They are. But speaking of uninspiring, let's go in a different direction here. I guess we have to set this up a little bit here. A group of, for lack of a better word, just woke students, presumably not God-believing individuals, God-fearing individuals, woke atheists, I imagine. Watch what they do on the campus of UCLA. You have to shake your head at this.
Hello, everybody. Me again. I'm here because I believe in freedom. You guys not? Sorry. I come from a place that
Not what?
has never been a Christian. That's why we come out of
We often call this, or I've started to call this BLM 2.0. In 2020, a lot of people bent the knee to the Black community in a sign of attrition or apology or whatever you have here. I think this is worse. You have non-Muslims, apparently, I don't know if they're actually converting or just going through the ritual motion and a sign of solidarity, praying to Allah. I'm at a loss for words, Jason.
You know, it's funny because these crazy, I like to talk about the blue-haired cat lady who's living alone at 50 years old with 12 cats and got her 12th abortion and whatnot, or the transgender person that's on campus. So these people are praying to Allah. Todd, we're not Muslim scholars, but we know a little bit of stuff. What is the role of women in these Arab religions?
The same crowd over here that's demanding more and more women's rights might be surprised at their conversion, what happens to those rights. I don't know. I'm just saying.
Right. I mean, and it's much like Christianity, where there's different levels of adherence to the doctrine. I mean, on the radical end of Islam, you have like, hey, you get multiple wives. They have to cover their face. Like, they would die to have traditional Christian women's roles of taking care of the family. They're little more than property. They participate in genital mutilation, where they remove the labia so that women can't enjoy sex. Yeah. And then even in some of the less extreme ends, they say, hey, we're going to not let women serve in government, or, I mean, women
drive if you're in certain countries.
Yeah. And from the looks of this is a bunch of women. This is American women that thought they were cool to throw on the stuff and let's pray to Allah. Folks, if you're doing this, do a little research. I mean, if you think the traditional Christian values of womanhood are way too restrictive, wait till you read the Quran. Just saying.
And look, if there are people of many faiths, hopefully, that watch our program, that exists in the world, this is not a comment or a derision towards your personal belief system. If you practice that healthily and don't come after any of us, there's a fine line. You could not get these women inside a church to save their life, but because Islam is not Christianity, because it is perceived as the other in America, suddenly they have no problem going through the ritual practices, the head covering, the kneeling, the praying, simply because it is not Christianity. That is all this is.
Yeah, and it's funny too, because I don't know if we have the video, but there's a bunch of LGBTQ folks too that are like, LGBTQ for Palestine. Folks, you don't know what Muslim countries do to the LGBT.
And we can't show any of the memes, but if you follow any of these threads on Twitter and you see some comments start to roll up, just do a little scrolling for a minute. I promise you'll get some chuckles out of that. But they have zero idea what they're actually protesting for.
Yeah, and I was gonna say, if you think like there was a point in America where if you were gay, you didn't talk about it because people might be mean to you. Well, they're farther behind than that. They're on if you're gay in some countries, they take you up to the roof of the building and let's just say Superman better learn how to fly. And that's just for being gay. That's not talking transgender or any of the way weirder stuff that we're tolerant of in America.
I'm just going to pop this up here, Jason. So George writes, Ole Miss has the reputation of being the most liberal school in the state. I mean, it's a college campus, so it probably is liberal. But pleasantly surprised that this many students are not woke there. I think that's the shock. Yeah, every college campus gets a reputation, probably rightfully so. Maybe like not a Hillsdale necessarily or a Liberty U, but they're all run by woke communists. But it is great to see, and like we said earlier, that students have the courage to wear their Trump hat, to chant "We love Trump," to go out there and defend the American flag. That's the thing that's been missing for so many years.
Yeah, and actually, another great comment here. We may be personally defeated, time being, but our principles never die. It's a land of wonders, which everything is in constant motion. It means improving, and we're praying for our country 100%. And that's kind of where Todd and I landed, seeing these, not these clowns on here who don't even know what they're doing, but seeing proud American, strong males rising up and not being afraid to expound their values. It's just inspiring. Todd, should we keep? Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, sorry. We got Andrew popping in the chat here. I want to give him a little moment. They will all be crying for Jesus when their time comes. If they want to help Muslims, ship them over there. Let them hang out with Hamas in Gaza. And Cindy said the same thing. Leave if you don't like America. Jason, we're just at the point, if you don't love this country, if you hate it so much, just go. Just go. You don't change America. I don't want America changed. And like the college kids are doing, they don't want it changed either. They will defend their flag. And if push comes to shove, I imagine there will be further defenses if that's the case. But just leave already. If you hate this country so much, if it's so oppressive and racist, go. Just go.
You know, and that's funny too, because these Marxist communists, why do they not go? One, because the communist countries they have won't, like, they are not very pleasant places to live. Your quality of life is bad. Your personal freedoms, where you get to act the fool, bad. All this stuff is bad. Why do they try to take over capitalist Christian nations? Because capital Christian nations do well. And then all these communists are always like, oh, this time communism will work. We're just going to go take over a successful capitalist country and then take all the resources, take all the stuff they've built. But the reason is because there is no communist country they can go to that where they can have any sort of freedom and that has a great standard of living. It's
the cliche, but they want their cake and they want to eat it too. It's just
right.
All right, Jason. We're running out of time here. We got a lot of videos to cover.
Let's go through some more videos.
See what we got here.
Why should the university
we had to do this, chick.
Oh yeah.
Food to people who've taken over a building?
Well, first of all, we're saying that they're obligated to provide food to students who pay for a meal plan here.
But you mentioned that there was a request that food and water be brought in, unless I misunderstood.
To allow it to be brought in. I mean, well, I guess it's ultimately a question of what kind of community and obligation Columbia feels it has to its students. Do you want students to die of dehydration and starvation or get severely ill, even if they disagree with you? If the answer is no, then you should allow basic, I mean, it's crazy to say because we're on an Ivy League campus, but this is like basic humanitarian aid we're asking for. Like, could people...
Free advertisement to not send your kid to an Ivy League school, by the way. What has happened to the so-called prestigious Ivy League schools?
And I was going to say, I love the dude in the background, the guy wearing a crop top with whatever thing. And here you have this woke leftist who's at Columbia University saying we need to allow humanitarian aid. We don't want people to starve to death. Walk across the street. There's a pizza
You can
parlor.
leave anytime.
You can leave anytime you want. And by the way, you are disrupting class. They have to do classes remote because you're being an idiot. They do not need to send you a juice box or cookies or whatnot. You can pack up your tent. You can go back to your dorm room. You can go back to classes. You can eat all you'd like. But if you're going to be out here, every one of these kids should be kicked out and go home, like, in my opinion.
And I don't know about you, Jason, but if I had a meal plan at Columbia University and I got hungry, I would go to the meal hall to satiate my hunger. What?
Right.
This woman, her life was building up to this moment. She got to speak to reporters on behalf of the protesters. What an absolute clown show. What a failure she is, because this is what she was building up to and just drops the ball completely. These people have no good ideas. They're completely useless. And like we said earlier, they deserve to be mocked and they need to be mocked because we have to expose these just ridiculous ideas. They're all children. They're just children in grown-up bodies.
And like just the hyperbolic language she's using. Humanitarian aid. You want people to starve to death. Like, no offense, you can skip a meal. Like, it's kind of like the dudes that run the 8-hour hunger strike for Palestine. I'm like, wow, 8 hours. Way to go, buddy. I used to do that.
Here's the thing, though, Jason, and I don't feel bad I feel bad for the kids that are there to learn, and they have maybe post-graduation plans. They're trying to make something of themselves. But great, the protesters made a zoo from the colleges and universities. The college system created this exact woman. The colleges created the headache they are now dealing with because they traded in victimhood and oppressed narratives for so long now that what did they think would happen if they told these kids every day, you are the victim of an oppressive capitalist society that is also racist and it hates freedom? So the students naturally say, well, we better protest some form of oppression around the world right now. Like this, there was no other, conclusion other than this nonsense on campuses now.
Oh my God. It's just, let's keep going through some videos, Todd.
Going.
There's so much fun stuff this week.
All right, let's take a slight detour here. This is what people should be protesting. And then we can comment on that.
I have to feed myself, and I don't know how I'm paying rent in less than 24 hours. I don't know what this is for. I just am like, fuck this city, man. I love Toronto, but it's so hard to survive here. Okay, anyway, if you happen to be watching this, cool. Thanks for that. And if you know of some magical fairy that helps out people, send them my way. Because, I don't know, I genuinely think that I'm doing exactly what I'm supposed to be doing right now. I'm building community. I'm building something. I actually think that's where my energy is supposed to go. And some days I can barely walk or hold my head up, so I don't think working in a cafe is the way for me to survive moving forward. Also, I'm 33 years old. Can I just be an adult now?
You are a 33-year-old liberal living in a large city who is building community. I'm just here to tell you, crazy liberal from Toronto, go somewhere, get a job, contribute to society, actually build something, build food, build resources. She could go dig ditches, Todd, and quit supporting leftist policies that makes it impossible to afford everything.
That is the ultimate takeaway. I guarantee this woman voted for Trudeau, or if there's another far left party out there in Canada worse than Trudeau, I guarantee she voted for it. And big government is the problem. Big government is never the solution. She will never connect the dots that her inability to, pay rent or buy a house or afford food. Yes, it is on her for not going out there developing a skill set that is marketable. But it is also on her for her voting habits because she is voting for things that are leading to these challenges. It is yes and. Yes, she should do better. And she's voting for the things that make her life actually harder here. And also, take off those sunglasses. What is she wearing?
Oh, my God. And she's 33 years old. I'm just going to say it. Like, 33 years old, not a bad looking gal. Find a nice man. Like, raise a family. Feel fulfilled. I don't know.
Dare I say, Jason, that she missed the opportunity to have fun in her 20s and all the good dudes hunkered down with someone else.
Right. Turns out they don't want necessarily retreads.
Weird how that works. But 33 and she wants to be an adult. Jason, I don't know about you, but you can be an adult anytime. Just start being an adult.
I was going to say, I moved out of my parents' house. I was 17 years old. I had a full-time job, going to school, paying my own bills. That was 17 years old.
She's simply stunning. But Jason, I showed this video because there's another one that we can't show due to excessive harsh language, let's say. But he makes the point in the video that you've got these dudes, and whether you believe in the cause or not, you're out there protesting something that's taking place halfway around the world, when if you look in your own backyard, inflation's out of control, government is out of control, your freedoms are getting eroded, everything around you in society is falling apart, and this is what you chose to protest. You're on a college campus asking for a ceasefire in the Middle East. There are so many other things on a list of 1,000 items, Jason, that I think I would protest before getting concerned. And yes, we are sad that there is loss of life. We don't want military involved. We don't want that. But we live in the real world. These tragedies do happen. And we have much more control over things that happen in America. Why are they protesting something in the Middle East and not protesting all sorts of actions taken by their own government or happening right now in their backyard? Defies the mind.
Yeah, it does. All right, Todd, any other videos we should end on?
We do have one of Kamala Harris.
Okay, we just have to do this just for fun,
I
folks.
think we're out of college protests. I'm scanning the list here. Yeah, I think we did all of those here. Let's go to Kamala.
And
I'm
this
thinking
is
that
your
we
Democrat
really
part.
all need a tremendous hug in the world right now.
Yeah.
But in our country, we need you to be Mamala of the country.
This gives me the warm fuzzies.
Yeah.
Oh, just be Mamala.
I'm just saying, folks, we've shown you a few videos that just encapsulate how weak and out of touch and ignorant the Democrat and the left is. Here you have Drew Barrymore, who whatever happened to her, talking to Kamala Harris, who is one of the least qualified political figures we've seen in my lifetime. Like, she's not bright. She doesn't have good policy other than saying we need to let women kill babies. She brings nothing to the table. And you have this crowd of all these liberals sitting out there. Not one of them could fix their car if it broke, or replace a toilet if they had to, or any of the things that make society function. But they sit there, they're emoting, they hate men, they hate strong men. And oh my God, mama, puke. I'm throwing up right now. You're exactly right. And understand, though, we had to show you this because the left is nuts. Like, anybody that can honestly think, like, Kamala, we need Mamala Harris. I don't even know what to say, Todd.
Jason, the one thing I find interesting too, Kamala Harris has no children of her own. She gave up being a mother. She ignored basic maternal instincts. She ignored her body, saying, I would like to have a child and be a mother. But look at this. Drew Barrymore wants Kamala to be the mother of the government. And as we've been saying this entire episode, they want parents, and we've said this every show probably, they don't want individual families to thrive. They do not want you to be a parent to your own child. They want you to farm that out to the government school system, the daycare system. Kamala Harris, not qualified to be a mother to her own child, but they want her to be emblematic as the mother of big government here. Quite a frightening thought.
It is truly a frightening thought. But folks, this crazy left mutants who think Kamala Harris is a serious person, though, that movement is dying. And I think Todd, can we pull up that Star Spangled Banner one once again? I just need a little positive energy. Todd's getting ready.
Uh-oh, I gotta give me 1 second.
Folks, that's the note I wanted to end this week's episode on. The left is collapsing. Their ideology is empty. Their values are horrific, and they're unsustainable. And the only way it's got this far is because strong men have been rooted out of society. But here you have thousands of strong men on a college campus who have said they've had enough. And that's why there's hope for this nation after all. And that's why we need young, strong men like this to lead us into the future.
Amen, Jason.
All right.
And folks, you can help spread that message too. One more shameless plug before you go. If you enjoyed the show, you find value in the show, Freedom from the Press podcast, please hit the like button, share this button far and wide, especially with your leftist family member, friend, or neighbor, someone that needs to be exposed to a different set of ideas. There is still time to change some minds. I don't know if some of these mutants will ever change their mind, but most regular folks that raise kids, go to work, just take care of their home and hang out with neighbors, they vote for Joe Biden because that's what they think they're supposed to do. Those are the people we can still work with, change their minds to help save this country.
And honestly, we showed you some of these people in the video, like that 33-year-old from Vancouver. She's crying out for somebody to reach out to her. And somebody that knows her if they shared content like this with her, like, hey, have you ever tried being more conservative, a Christian? Let's get a job that produces value. That's how, like, these people are collapsing. They're looking for God. They just don't know it. They're looking for purpose. They're looking for meaning. Folks, help share the content, and hopefully we can reach those people.
And we'll see you next Friday at 10 a.m. Central. Have a great
Awesome.
weekend.
Thanks for tuning in. See you next week.